Let's get this party started. And this is recorded just to give everyone a heads up. Let's go.
Awesome. Garrison, are you able to put that link in the chat? Just be a little hard.
The link for the Zoom?
No,
I'll put it
the link
in.
to the Multifamily Con.
Oh, yeah, I'll go ahead and hit that.
Yeah, okay.
Go ahead. Feel free to introduce yourselves, Powell first, and then Ferris Musa.
Sure. So my name is Powell Chi. I am a real estate investor based in Los Angeles, California. All my real estate investing has been out of the state of California. So I haven't invested in anything inside the state. So have gotten involved in a number of different syndications. I'm on the general partner on 5 different syndications, and they're spread out throughout the United States. So San Antonio, Dallas, Jacksonville, Phoenix, Indianapolis. So a number of different syndications, multifamily. Also got involved with a lot of self-storage deals recently. So heavily involved in acquiring self-storage deals. Acquired 1,300 units in self-storage so far. It's like 150,000 square feet. So self-storage is a little bit more based on square footage than unit size or unit count. But that all said, started Multifamily Masters almost 4 years ago, and since then it's grown. It's one of these things that has helped a lot of people grow in terms of it's really based on networking and a learning environment and just kind of a community feel. And that all said, that kind of mixture has brought about tons of different people that have partnered together. A lot of different deals have come through, and people have closed deals inside of Multifamily Masters. And so we're super excited that you're here to join us as well. We'd love to have you come out to Multifamily Con as well and get to see everybody in person. We haven't really been able to do that on a large scale in a while. So it'd be great to see everybody out there at Multifamily Con. We're going to have like a 2-day event. So it's like a 2-day event where we're going to have a lot of different speakers like Garrison mentioned. So it's going to be an awesome event. That all said, I'm looking forward to meeting people here on later on in our breakout rooms. Looking forward to hearing from Candace and Iggy, two great people that I've had connections with for a long time now, and super happy every time I get to hear them speak. And for that, I'll turn it on to Ferris here.
All right, thank you, Pal. So for those that don't know me, my name is Ferris. I have a company called Disrupt Equity, and we also have our management company called Disrupt Management. Primarily, we buy properties throughout Texas and Georgia. We've done, 14 deals full cycle, not full cycle, done 14 deals. 4 of which we're selling this year, and we'll have about 7 deals full cycle. So been up and down the spectrum, and like I like to tell people, right, multifamily investing is all about the people, right? It's all about networking. That's why we host Multifamily Masters. That's why we're putting on the conference. And I actually met my partner Ben Suttles 4 or 5 years ago at a meetup, right, that we now host in Houston. So the proof is in the pudding, guys. Get out there, go network, go meet people, right? Get to these events, right? I mean, in person, it's such a critical part of it. And I don't know about you all, that's what I'm most excited about COVID going away, just being out there, starting to network, getting to catch up with friends, building new relationships and potential partners. And so with that said, we figured that for those that don't know, we do MFM Live once a month, right? And, with the goal of just adding content and helping people learn and kind of really doing deep dives into the things that people want to know. One of the things that people always want to understand is how you get started, right? How did that first deal go about? And I know me, Pal, Garrison, and other friends have talked about this before, but we figured, how about we bring on 2 people that have recently kind of, that aren't new, but really just can speak to their first deal, right? That have kind of progressed down that pathway, doing the first deal, doing their second, and so on, and really let people ask the questions that they want to ask, right? They're both friends of ours, great people, genuine people, and we like to host people that we like, know, and trust. And so, Candace and Iggy both meet that bar. And with that said, Candace, do you want to go ahead and maybe go first and introduce yourself, and then I'll let Iggy, and then I'll start to moderate. But if people have questions, comments, please ask them, and I will go ahead and ask them as well. It'll be kind of a free form. And for those that don't know, we'll do this for about 30, 40 minutes. And then the last 15, 20 minutes, we will do what's called breakout rooms, right? We'll break out the audience into a smaller group of people because, again, getting to have that little bit more intimate setting, right? 5, 6, 7 people that you can kind of have a little bit more one-on-one and just get to know for a little bit. We'll do that for 10, 15 minutes, and then we'll bring it all back home. So with that said, Candace, do you want to go ahead and hop on?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, thank you guys so much for having me on tonight. I'm excited to join you guys and talk a little bit about my first deal. But as a short introduction, I'm based in Birmingham, Alabama, live with my husband, Casey, and our son, Carson, and we have our second son on the way. So growing the family.
Congratulations.
So we are actually full-time multifamily now as of the start of 2021. We left our other business and we're full-time multifamily. So currently we've done 6 deals. We have 2 under contract to sell right now. And then we have 2 more accepted LOIs. So should soon be 8. That's kind of where we are in the journey. But in terms of my first deal, that one was really the game changer for me. So we can get into that in just a second. I know you have questions to ask, but that one really just, it's kind of like Garrison said, it could have either turned me off from multifamily forever or got me really excited and passionate about it. And fortunately it was the latter. So right now I am the asset manager for Astra Equity. I'm so happy to have joined my 3 partners. I don't know, some of you guys probably know them, Jeremy Porto, Stuart Dukeman, and Rich Trepanier. So my role is asset management within that team, and we are exclusively pursuing deals together as a team. And then our model is typically to JV with 1 or 2 others. So whereas we are definitely interested in 75 plus, 100 plus units like everyone else, we also love to buy the 40s, 30 units, 40 units, 50 units, because we're able to own a much larger chunk of those assets. We still have capital to place of our own. So it's just kind of a win-win, not quite as competitive in that space. And we've just kind of mastered the system, I guess, for property management and asset management in that size range. So that's kind of what we're known for. It's our focus on the smaller assets. So that's where we are right now. And we're looking forward to continue growing in the Alabama markets of Birmingham, Huntsville, and Montgomery.
All right. And as you guys heard, success in the smaller stuff. You probably get to keep your sanity a lot more too. This bigger stuff is just hyper competitive these past couple months, killing us. So
yeah, well, the smaller stuff is becoming that way as well.
yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Candace. Iggy, Mr. Glasses, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself as well?
This is past my bedtime. So I came back from Pal's neck of the woods last night. And so I'm still in California time. That's why I'm wearing the glasses. No, these are to block the blue light. That's all. I'm honored to be here. I'm honored to be with Candace. I mean, we're actually pursuing the same size stuff, and we're doing JV stuff with our own money. So it's an honor to be here. Who am I? I'm a pediatric dentist by trade, and then now a full-time real estate investor as of 2020. And that's what I've been doing. I fell in love with this stuff. And Pal, with the great lighting behind them, was my coach, or still is my coach. And I'm happy to be here.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Iggy. Short and sweet. So
it's
with
late
that
at
said,
night. I got to keep it short and sweet. I can't even talk.
Right. But don't worry, those glasses don't just keep out the blue light. It keeps you in that West Coast personality. So with that said, right, I think, let's go ahead and just hop right in, right? The thing that people want to understand for each of you, right? What was that first deal? Where was it? What did it look like? How did you find that deal, right? And ultimately, how did you close it? And how did that deal turn out? So that's kind of the question. I'm going to go reverse it now. So Iggy, I would put you on the spot like Candace, have to chase your answer.
Well, good luck, Candace. You got to top this one. Can you do it?
Try my best.
I'm too much late at night. All right. So I thought a lot about it, and I'm like, which deal should I talk about? And it was actually my first passive deal. And it was my first passive investment and the reason why is everything made sense. You have rents coming in, you have expenses going out. And I'm like, I don't have to do any work. I just have to lay out the money. I have to wire the money. And then I was like, oh crap, I have to wire money. I never wire money. Where's it going? And so it was getting over that hump. That first passive investment was the one that it literally changed my life. It changed me from my financial advisor at the time telling me that I couldn't retire and I would never be able to retire. And I didn't understand why. It made no sense to me. There was no logic to it. And it got me out of the whole stock market game. And it got me into the world of real investing and in being almost an inside investor, even though, because I've access to the syndicator, I've access to everything, and learning the trade. And that was the key for me. And that was, I'm still getting the chills right now because I remember that wire. I remember going into the bank. Now I do in the computer, but I was not as wise. Pal taught me well, and he taught me all these things. But you know, going into the bank and they're like, "Are you sure you want to do this?" And I remember that transfer, and I'm like, "Hell yeah, let's do it," and got it done. And then that's it. I don't know, Ferris, if you wanted to hear more, but that was to me the most empowering, is getting over that hump, because you're relinquishing some of your funds and you're sending it.
And a lot of people ask how to get started. And I like to tell them just being passive, right? You learn a lot because most people don't wire big sums of money for anything besides a house that they're buying, right? And realizing that there's a method to the madness. There's real entities, there's real legal paperwork, there's a real, process to it. And people have to understand where this money's going. It's not going to some random, person's account, right? It's part of the process. And you learn a lot being a passive investor. How do they pitch the deal? How do they, get you comfortable with that, right? What happened during the closing? What happened after? So, but I'm going to turn the question around a little bit more though. What about your first active participation?
See, I knew you were going to ask it anyway.
Yeah,
so.
I think that's the meat of it that people want to know.
All right. You want to hear the active stuff? You want to hear the good stuff or the bad stuff? Candace, what do you want to hear? You don't want to hear the bad stuff, right? Because you're going to tell us a great story.
No, Candace can't learn anything from the good stuff. She wants to hear the bad.
All right. Well, we'll start.
You have to go with the fun stuff.
The fun stuff. So I did several other passive investments, and then I was like, this is great. I could just do this. And then, and just leave it like that. The problem was I fell in love with multifamily and I wanted to be active. It wasn't so much about the money now. It was more about, I wanted to get more involved. So I just started reaching out to people. And realistically, the first deal that I did a joint venture, and I'm going to go back a little bit. And it was January 2020. It was right after we all went to Rod's event, and then everything shut down. And right before it shut down, I had 3 deals under contract. Pal was still leading my coaching. I was like all excited and gung ho. I was like, I got 3 deals. He's like, yeah, bring it on, bring it on. And then everything fell through except for one. And then that one, it was a joint venture. It was more of a passive one. Ferris, I'm bringing up the background of it. You tell me if I'm rambling too much. You guys can stop me. It's late at night for me, so this is what happens. So it's July 2020. That one was under contract in January. That joint venture finally closed 6 months later. It had to be like the longest closing ever. So that prepared me for anything possible going on. And so I knew that things could be messy. So in July, I get a call from one of my friends, Matt, and he's like, you won't believe it. I got a real deal under contract, like a real deal. And it was a 300+ unit in North Carolina. And I'm like, he's like, you want to get involved? And I'm like, hell yeah, let's do it. So I drove down, I think it was that weekend or whatever, to Winston-Salem, North Carolina. We hung out. I got to meet the whole team. And that's how I got involved. And it was more on the capital raising side, but I got to see everything because they allowed me to be a part of everything. And that was my first deal, but I got to see everything. So I was on the calls before I was doing dentistry, after I was doing dentistry, just seeing the whole everything, the ups and the downs. And that's what it was. It was ups and downs because it was raising capital during COVID when things were questionable. And it was my first raise. So people they knew I was always excited about it because this is all I'm talking about when I'm doing dentistry. And so they felt the excitement. So I got friends, family, and everyone else, even though it was a 506c involved. That's why I'm talking about it involved in this kind of stuff. And then it went from there, but it wasn't really, nothing negative really happened. It actually ended up to be an amazing deal. But it was scary. It was scary because, there was DD money on the line. There was a lot of stuff on the line. And
I'm going to interrupt you there, Iggy. So
Yeah. Go for it.
You said a lot of terms, so if people don't understand something, please ask questions. I will facilitate, right? But let me understand. So you raised capital. You also put up due diligence money. Is that right? You put up kind of the earnest money, the hard money.
Yeah.
So for those that don't understand, right, that's a way to get a piece of the pie, right? You agree to put up some of that earnest money. Now, let me ask you this. Did you have a deal with them that if they lost that earnest money, right, they didn't close on the deal for whatever reason, that who would be on the line for that? Would that be you or would that be on them?
That was me.
You were taking on that risk. So you were betting that they're going to get that deal across the finish line.
That's why
you got to start putting up the earnest money for our deals, man. You know, I back that money. So we don't close, it's my fault, not your fault. Okay. And so, you know, you basically bet on that horse, right? You went all in. And ultimately, you know, they closed, it worked out. And what's the status of the deal today?
The status is it's actually doing absolutely amazing. Justin Fraser is running the asset management team, and it's so when we took it over, the rents were $559. The renos are like $5,500. The turns are like half that because they're still heavy turns, and now those same 2 bedrooms are going for $800. So 336 of them. So that's pretty good.
Got it.
No one's excited. That's freaking great.
That's great.
That's great for me. That's all I
awesome.
need. I don't need, you know, big stuff, but that one was a big stuff. So that was a big deal, and I'm excited.
Awesome, man. Perfect. All right. Well, we'll come back and talk more about the second deal, et cetera. Candace, same question.
Okay, yeah. So we did several passive investments first, a JV that I was more passive in. I won't really talk about those. I'll just jump to the active since that's what you want to hear, Ferris. But our first true active deal was a 40 unit, and that was in Birmingham, Alabama. So we were originally, I say we, my husband and I were solo at the time. We hadn't actually joined Astra Equity yet at this point. So we were exposed to this deal originally on market with a different seller. It's not the seller we ultimately closed with, so it's kind of a unique story. We had submitted an LOI on this deal at $33 a door. Their asking price was $45 a door, which sounds so cheap now. I mean,
no kidding.
Worth way more now. But so this was early 2019, just to give you some perspective there, when we were originally offering on this in February, March 2019. So we ultimately couldn't come to an agreement. We were way off from their asking price. We walked away, forgot all about the deal, and moved on. And then a broker that I had a great relationship with at the time actually called me a few months later and said that he and his partners actually had this deal under contract as part of a larger 200 plus unit portfolio. He buys deals as well, in addition to brokering. He knew that I was bidding on this deal. He knew I wanted this deal. His business model was more turnkey. You know, he didn't want to do any work. He just likes buying stabilized assets and letting them cash flow. So this particular 40 unit deal was a very heavy lift, distressed deal. I mean, definitely not stabilized in any way, shape, or form. So that didn't really fit his business model, but he got a great price because he was buying the whole portfolio. So he asked me if I wanted the 40 unit deal, and the plan was basically kind of like a double close, but I still had a shorter due diligence to where he would close on the portfolio and turn around and then sell the 40 unit to me for my $33 a door offer price. It's like, awesome. So it was a win-win because he didn't have to do all the work on this heavy lift deal, and I was able to get it for my initial offer price from him rather than the initial seller. So
did he do a double close, or?
It wasn't actually a double close, but so we had a contingent contract to where it was basically theirs had to close before I would technically be under contract. So I couldn't really start title work or anything like that, but I did start like financial due diligence. And like, there were some things I could go ahead and start with because he got all the due diligence documents from the seller at that time and just passed them to me. It was kind of unique because it was a chain, a lot of things I couldn't do until he closed, but a lot of things I could do. So I had a lot of it behind me already by that point that they closed.
And so did you close about 30 days later or so?
About 45 days later. Mm-hmm. It would have been faster actually, but we had a lender issue at the last minute and had to extend. So
always a lender issue somewhere. So
yeah, and this one actually shouldn't have been. It was just a tricky deal because when we went under contract on the deal, it was technically like 85% occupied, but it wasn't really, once it all kind of came to light, it ended up being more like 65% occupied, and the lender didn't like that.
Got it.
So, but yeah, we got it done.
Got it. And so you and your husband did that alone.
Correct. Yeah.
What gave you the confidence that you'd be able to not stumble through that?
Well, it was kind of the opposite, confidence in a way, but it was actually because I was kind of burned with a 96 unit JV that happened right before this deal, to where I didn't trust the partners and didn't vet the partners well enough. And that whole experience was not a good one, because I was left in the dark when I was promised that I was not going to be in the dark and that I was going to be an equal JV partner, because I fronted pretty much all the money to close that deal. And after that experience, it just kind of burned me from wanting to partner. I mean, I know, like everyone else, partnering is the way to get where you want to go in this business. It's absolutely a relationship business, a partnership business. But at that point in time, I just wanted to do my own deal. Like, I didn't want to trust anybody else. I didn't want to jump into another deal with someone else I didn't know well. So I was glad to do it on my own. I knew I could figure it out, because it was local, and that gave me confidence as well. It was local, and I had a great relationship with the property management company, and the head property manager, the regional, had a lot of experience. So I guess that kind of gave me the confidence to take a risk. But looking back, I can't believe I took such a big risk on my first deal, when it was a heavily distressed deal. Like, we had to bring it down to 50% occupancy just to turn it around and start going the other direction. So it was a fun one.
Yeah, you live and learn, right? So,
Hey, Candace, how long did it take you from day one? You entered this business. I want to buy a multifamily property. I want to be a multifamily investor, until you actually put that cash out there. You can say that, hey, I'm into X amount of doors. What was that time frame like?
I don't really know what you would consider day one of that. So like 2017 was kind of my education year, I guess, like reading a lot of books and watching free content. And I attended my first multifamily conference in 2018, and then started passively investing in 2018. We also bought a few single family homes in 2018. The JV on the 96 unit was late 2018 into 2019. So that's kind of the timeline. So 2019, mid 2019 was my first, the 40 unit, the first active deal. So I guess maybe about 2 years if you count just reading type education, but I wasn't really building my team or looking for deals in 2017 yet.
Sure. Now, that took you 2 years to get to deal one. How long did it take you to get from deal one to deal two?
That one was a little bit longer than you would think. So we closed in mid 2019 on deal one, and we closed in April 2020 on deal two.
Okay.
But then they came very fast after deal two. It was bam, bam, bam after deal two.
But that brings up a very good point. Many of our mastermind students, many of my coaching students, they're in a hurry. Let's get that first deal. Let's get that first deal. Let's get that first deal. I feel rushed. What is your word of advice to someone who feels like, holy shit, it's been 6 months and I haven't closed anything?
You definitely don't rush it, and don't rush into a bad deal just because you're pressured to keep up with everyone else and get into a deal. I think that was part of my issue with the 96 unit deals. Like, I wanted a deal so badly at that time, and the numbers worked for the deal, and I didn't check out everything else. So I would just say, be very cautious about rushing into it. It's kind of weird too, how I've noticed deals almost come in bunches. Like we closed 3 deals within like a 2-month period earlier this year, late last year into early 2021. And then we just had a 7-month dry zone where we were like, where are the deals? We can't find any more deals. And now all of a sudden they're starting to come in bunches again. And we have two deals with offers accepted. So it's easy to, get down in those dry periods where you're like, oh, I'm never going to get another deal, but you just hang on, keep underwriting, keep your relationships up, because that's when it's going to count, is when the deals start coming. You want to have all that in place, not have let your guard down.
And when it rains, it pours, right? And this is where you should always give an offer, right? We've been going crazy. We've done like 8 best and final interviews the past 3 weeks, right? And some of the stuff comes around later, right? I mean, you just never know. So it's constantly offer. Brokers see you getting close, right? I mean, they know you're serious. And I literally got a text while I'm on here from a broker saying, hey, call me in the morning. This deal is kind of back in play. So we'll see, right? I tell people, always offer, go through the homework. And it comes and goes, right? We had 3 deals that we closed within 60 days, and then we went 15 months of no deal, right? So similar thing, you just never know.
Great
And so-
takeaway, Candace. It's important for a lot of people watching this. Do not feel rushed. A lot of times the best deal is a deal that you do not close. Do not try to keep up with the guy next to you. Do not watch social media and see like this guy closed 2,000 apartments in year number 1. That's an abnormality. And we do not know what that person's underwriting or what his bank account or what those numbers look like. Stick to what works for you, plain and simple.
Yeah. And I tell people, it's easy to buy, right? It's hard to perform. So, it's easy to just go on a buying spree. So let's see, there's a few questions that came in that I'll ask, and then we can kind of transition on. One question, by the way, Iggy, people are saying that is an awesome deal. So you did get a pat on the back that you wanted.
Oh, see, someone likes it.
So let's see. So Matt
I
says,
like
did you do your DD in tandem with the seller or after their DD? I think it sounded like after, right, Candace?
Primarily after. There were
Yeah.
a few things that we did in tandem, but yeah, we had access to all the documents at the same time as there's too many sellers in this chain. It gets confusing, but the seller we bought it from, the seller they were buying it from, we kind of all were sharing documents at the same time, but all of the actual physical due diligence was after.
Yeah. So let's see. So Abhishek says, do you guys think finding deal is so tricky these days? Is it tricky? No, it's the same level of trickiness as it was a year ago, as it was 5 years ago. It's just more competitive, right? So margins are getting tighter, right? Is maybe my answer, right? So either you have to be okay with a lesser return, right? Or, you're probably not going to buy something, right? And so, and I don't know, like Candace and Iggy speak for themselves, but part of this, if you're going down the syndication route, is training your investors that, hey, the market has changed, right? Like we're selling 6 deals, but I have to tell my investors, like, the returns that you got on this deal is not likely to be what you're going to get on the next deal, right? And the market is very different. And so, I don't know, Candace, Iggy, you guys have anything else to add to that?
Yeah, it just depends what you consider a deal. I mean, it's all relative. Like you said,
Yeah.
if you're taking other people's money, what are your passive investors looking for return wise? Because there's always something to buy. It's just a matter of how much risk you want to take on and what returns you or your investors need.
Yep. Yeah, like I can buy any deal in the world if my investors are okay with that return profile, right? So.
Yeah, it was, what's interesting is to that comment is I'm finding now more brokers are actually getting back in touch with me faster than before COVID. So like end of 2019, it was because I was newer to the space and maybe it was confidence or whatever it was, but now I can call a broker and it's almost like things flow. And, but in 2000, even early 2020, before the pandemic, it seemed like I was getting a door shut in my face, and then all of a sudden it snapped during the pandemic. And then it seems like now, I don't know, communication lines are open. I don't know if anyone else is finding that.
I think a big part of what Iggy and Candace are both saying as well is on the relationship side. Kind of the theme of like how you get things done in multifamily. A lot of times it's on the relationship side. So I mean, I was with Iggy when he was going through his whole journey, right? And he was also looking at multiple deals. So it's not like it just put all his eggs in one basket and talked to one person, and then he happened to get a deal with that one person. He was looking at a smaller property, he was looking at a mid-sized property, and then also a large property, right? And he was looking all around, and he was making all kinds of different connections with people. So I think that certainly helped him accelerate and then like get something done, get works and get momentum, right? And Candace mentioned she was, her deal came from a broker, right? She, like initially, what she put out there, it didn't happen, but through her relationship with somebody else, she was able to make this happen. And it really kind of comes about with all these relationships that, you form good relationships with people. People know who you are. People know that you're active. People know that you're really looking, and you're gonna be the one to close the deal or get something done. People want to work with people like that. And so if you can you can be out there and show people what you're doing, that's how you get deals done.
Good point, pal. And anyone watching this, feel free to drop any questions whatsoever in the comments below, whether it's on Facebook, social media, whether it's right here on Zoom. But this is your opportunity to hang out with people that are actually doing things. Pick their brain. Feel free to ask anything and everything.
So with that said, let's transition. I know we got about another 10, 15 minutes. So with that said, I wanted to kind of hop in for both of you, right, to talk more about partnerships, right? Candace, you kind of started off yourself. You got burned, started off, and then kind of transitioned back to partnership, right? What led to that change of thought, right? Then Iggy, for you as well, right? What, kind of after that first deal, right? Limited kind of role. What is kind of transitioned from there? So let's go with Iggy first.
All right. So the main thing, so I didn't say what Prostoig Capital or my business is for, but I also wanted a place for other dentists and medical professionals to get great returns on their money and actually help out other people. And because, we're helping out residents and taking care of residents. As being a pediatric dentist, it's the same C-class properties of most of my patients. So it's like the same thing. And they can connect with it, and then they get great returns. So that's the big push. So I look for partners that care about the residents and that care about the investors and truly care about them. Don't just want their money to make more money for themselves. Really appreciate them, really respect them, knowing that, and I don't know if everyone's going to feel the same as me, but I heard this on a meetup that they are running the deal. They're bringing the money to the table. Without their money, we don't have a deal. And so that's what I look for. And so I look around at who's doing and can run and execute the business plan the best and take care of those other two things that I mentioned. So that's what I'm looking for.
Great points, Iggy. I like that.
Cool, man.
All righty. Candace.
Yeah, so with my Astra Equity partnership, I think what led me to that was actually when I did that first deal on my own, because I had to do everything, I really learned what I love the most, like what role I best fit into, both by, because of my skill set and also because of just what I enjoy doing. So asset management was that piece that I wanted to focus on. So even though I knew that, it's not like I set out to find partners to fill the other roles, because like I said, I was burned. I was kind of scared of just partnering with someone. So I let it happen organically. It's almost like a marriage or a relationship. Like you don't want to go out and try to find someone. You just wait till they come into your life. And that's kind of what happened. So Jeremy Porto is who I met first. He was actually in Birmingham. He had smaller properties like fourplexes in the Huntsville and Birmingham area. So he was here doing due diligence or closing, I can't remember which, on some fourplexes, and he knew I was in the area and wanted to meet for coffee. So we just met for coffee and talked about the market and ended up looking at a few deals together, and he checked out one of my properties here, and we never planned to really partner. It just kind of happened organically from there. He was already partnered at the time with Rich and Stewart. So I joined their Slack channel just to talk about Birmingham and Huntsville deals, and we started looking at a few deals together just on the underwriting side, and just one thing led to another. We ended up JVing one deal. We didn't actually form a company yet. After the third deal we closed, we knew it was time to just form an entity together, go exclusive, because we just work so well together. We each have our role that we're good at, and my husband calls us lightning in a bottle, because it's just that magic when we're together. Like I know that sounds corny, but it's just a really amazing partnership. So I never thought I would be where I'm at so quickly in a partnership after thinking I wouldn't partner again for a while, but I'm definitely where I was meant to be there. And
I think the thing that you guys are kind of glossing over is you kind of realize you can only go so far alone, right? You run out of money, you run out of time, you run out of, opportunities. So, and you'll get burnt out if you try to do everything too, for sure. Yep.
So Candace, in regards to your partnership, what is your superpower? What do you excel at? What do you specialize in?
I think I'm very good at the details. I love, that's why I love asset management, because, data, so my background is in science. I didn't mention that earlier, but scientific research specifically. So I really love just analyzing the data and looking at the trends and just really executing the business plan, making what's on paper become reality, working with property management. So that it's fun. I love seeing the transformation. So I don't know if that's considered a superpower necessarily, but I
absolutely.
think I fit in.
And before I forget, Candace, Iggy, feel free to drop your contact information, your website, your email, your cell phone, whatever you feel comfortable. Feel free to drop that in the comments below. There's a lot of people watching this. There's going to be a lot of people that want to reach out to you, and these are great people to surround yourself with.
All right. So with that said, you have about, I don't know, 5-10 minutes. There's still a lot of questions. So I'm going to go ahead and start answering these. So I'm going to do a little bit of a rapid fire. So people have questions, please go ahead and drop them, and I will ask them to the participants. So let's see. So what is y'all's vetting process for partnerships?
Candace, we'll go ahead. We'll let you take that one.
Okay. Yeah, let me finish hitting enter on that. Okay. I'd send it to one person by mistake. So my vetting process, like I said, I didn't really plan to vet partners this go around. It just kind of happened. I got to know these guys really well before we did our first deal together. So I can't really say I actually did this process, but I definitely recommend, the full background checks, and the best way is word of mouth. So if you just go to enough conferences and connect with enough people via Zoom and phone calls and really immerse yourself in the multifamily space, you'll find out if you shouldn't partner with someone, because everyone knows someone that can tell you, which you have to be careful too, because just because someone's had one deal go bad doesn't mean they're a bad partner. It can happen. So you have to kind of make those judgment calls. But I definitely just recommend talking to as many people as you possibly can, in addition to doing the typical background check stuff.
And it's really crazy how small this world, or how small this business really is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, it is. Small world for sure.
Yeah. Then and then on top of that too, like I tell people, date before you get married, right? Slow roll it before you go all in. And and unfortunately, there's a lot of fakeness out there. So kind of, again, slow roll into it, get to know people, get to know what they've actually done versus what they haven't. And it's okay to be new. That's what I tell people. Like, there's nothing wrong with being new, right? But people that admit to it is very different than people that don't, right? So let's see, Candace, what did your finance look like for your first deal? Local bank? Actually, that's a good question. We didn't talk about financing.
Yeah, so it was a local bank. It wasn't eligible for agency debt at the time because of its, it wasn't 90% occupied for 90 days. So we went with a local bank here in Birmingham. Our terms sound bad now, but they were good at the time. It was 5.5% interest rate, 25-year AM. We had 18 months of interest only, no prepayment penalty. So it gave us that flexibility. And we were going to refinance after about 18 months, but that was the time COVID hit. So at that time, we ended up getting a loan modification with the same lender, and they gave us a 3.5% interest rate, an additional 1 year of interest only, and a 10-year term. So almost like agency-like terms. And at that point, I thought, well, I'll never refinance now because I have these amazing terms. But that being said, we're about to start a Freddie refinance, actually, to pull capital back out and just get that agency experience, 30-year AM, and additional 2 years of IO. So we're about to start that process now.
All right. Let's see. So any advice for buying specifically in the Los Angeles area for a first-time buyer?
Oh, that's a good question.
There you go, pal.
I can, I'll answer it. All of us invest in landlord-friendly places with cap rates that make sense. If you didn't understand one of those words, go research it. But ultimately, LA is not very landlord friendly, so you run that risk. And again, there's nothing, people invest in LA successfully. It's not like you can't do it, but also just, cap rates are a lot tighter in LA. So for the same asset that's, to get a $1,500 rent, you're probably paying twice as much to buy it in LA than you would in, Alabama. No offense, Candace. So very different kind of market.
Take that California money and invest it into a friendlier state.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a game changer for me, honestly, because I wouldn't realize that you can invest outside of where you live. That was a huge jump that I never really thought of before. I always thought hey, I have to invest. I have lived in California my whole life, so how am I going to invest in the San Francisco Bay Area or in LA? I just didn't understand how you could do that. But then when I started seeing other people doing it, I was like, whoa, this is amazing, and this is unbelievable. And then when you start to think of that, in the times we live in, it's the easiest that it's ever been. And it's only going to get easier with the communication that's faster. Previously, maybe 20 years ago, people had to pick up the phone. You had to, whatever. You had to make sure that somebody else was on the other line and everything. You never get an answer back. So Nowadays, it's like messaging back and forth. You can see your reports are all done instantly. You can log in your portals. It's all totally different than it was 20 years ago. So, so yeah, it's only going to get easier as well.
All right. Let's see. Next question. I think it's directed at me. I heard one of the guys state that he had done some deals in Texas and Georgia. What advice could you give for investing in the Houston area as a first-time rookie and finding an investor that would not consider you some fly-by-night scam artist? I know that relationships are crucial. There's a lot of different questions in that question. First question is investors, right? You know, most people start off with friends and family, right? And then you can grow from there, right? And bring partners. If you don't know what you're doing, go find someone like people on this call that do know what they're doing, right? And you can point to them with your friends and family. Hey, I don't know what I'm doing, but this person does, right? And really being on webinars like this, being at conferences, you should share and show people you're doing these things, right? It shows people that you are getting educated. You're not just a newbie, right? That's maybe that. And then specifically the Houston market, it's become kind of the, I don't know, the Cinderella at the ball all of a sudden. Like this, the market was kind of flat for several years and it's just been insane. I mean, I joke, we closed on a deal a month, not even that, 3 weeks ago. And I joke I can turn around and sell it for like another 20% today, right? I mean, it's just growing month over month. So Houston's really, really hot. And that really goes for all of the Texas markets. I mean, you know, you're looking at 20% price increases from 6 months ago. Yeah, that's maybe what I have to say about Houston. So it's
and Ferris, don't you have a meetup in Houston? Isn't there a multifamily?
We do have a meetup in Houston. So come on out first Thursday of every month. So, you know, we host it downtown. If you don't know about it, go to disruptequity.com and there's a link somewhere on there or message me. But it's a good way to kind of get a pulse on what's going on. Let's see. How can you confirm a potential partner has done what they say they've done versus being a smooth talker? Who wants to answer that one? I'll answer it.
You're going to answer it?
You want me to answer it?
Yeah, go for it.
Getting on things like this, you know, most people are happy to just give their opinion, right? It's not about bashing. It's, you know, ask other people, what do you know about this person, right? And, you know, ask the hard questions, right? I mean, if you're investing with someone or partnering with someone, that's your hard earned money or time, right? You are allowed to ask the hard questions and, you know, to the point where you say, show me the paperwork, right? Or who else is partnered on it? I mean, I think maybe the biggest question, ask who all the partners are and then ask them what everyone did, because you know what it takes to close a deal. So if you can piece together, this person did this and this person did it, you can kind of deduce what that person did, right? If there's a lot of people on the deal, maybe that's one way to do it. It's a hard thing to answer because, again, being a good marketer is very different than being a good operator, right? And, you know, there's a lot of flash. Next question, is Raleigh, North Carolina a landlord-friendly area? I heard it was a good market. Who wants to answer that one?
Yes.
Yeah, the answer is yes, I think. Curious how your deal size has progressed over time and you gained experience. Which one do you guys want to answer that one?
I've been going opposite. You know, I went from really big, passive investments to really big, and then it keeps going smaller and smaller as I get more and more pieces of the pie, I guess we would like to say. I'm more aligned with Candace's model, and I think it's a wonderful model. And what was our latest? The one before was a 40 unit in Greensboro that someone reached out to me on LinkedIn to connect at 40 units for 40 a unit, and unbelievable price. And that one's going great too. So yeah, size doesn't matter as long as I can make a cash flow. That's it.
You can make a lot of money in real estate in a lot of different ways. It's not, you know, yeah, people do bigger deals, right? But also they're getting a smaller piece of those deals. And so, you know, there's not a right or wrong answer, even in houses, right? People make a tremendous amount of money if you really know how to do the operations of just scaling a house, you know, rental business too. So, and maybe the big feedback is just kind of learn to really refine your niche, right? And just be the best at it. And that's maybe the biggest feedback. It's easy to get shiny toy syndrome, right? But also there's an art to being kind of the expert at a specific niche. Let's see, last question, and then we'll call it a wrap right on time before we go to our breakout rooms. Kiyosaki says, now is the time to sell. Is anyone liquidating to have cash to pick up pre-foreclosures in the next 12 months?
We're not really intentionally liquidating. We have 2 under contract to sell. That's obviously going to free up some cash. But we always have some liquidity on hand, and we always have the partnerships, the JV partners to bring in with that extra liquidity as well. So we're not really worried about our cash position. We're just concerned with finding the deals right now, more so than the capital.
Yeah. And I'll answer the question too, for us at least. We are making a lot of exits because I believe in taking money off the table, right? Lock it in. Yes, the market may keep going up and you miss out on a little bit, but it's better to lock it in than not. And for us, we give it back to investors, let them decide what to do with it, right? And to your point, Candace, it's the hardest part is actually finding the next deal, right? I don't see there being a big crash and pre-foreclosures in the next 12 months. There's a tremendous amount of money in the market right now, people, right? Even if you're buying, properties, let's say you're buying a C property that, a year ago to say you're buying it for a 4 cap is kind of crazy. Well, now the stuff is 4 caps, right? Even at a 4 cap, that stuff is still a magnitude more than what savings accounts are going for, right? And so there's a lot of money that is just pent up that is deploying, and it's still a magnitude more. So even if it from a 4 to a 3 cap, let's say it just makes that jump, that's still significantly more than what any savings account is close to giving you. So people need to realize that. I don't see there being some big crash, right? There's just the rates right now, unless the Fed significantly starts to push rates. Money is very, very cheap, and I see all that money trickled up, and I think it's going to trickle back down into real estate. So with that said, and I know one question is about our meetup, send me a message, Ferris at Disrupt Equity, and I'm happy to kind of send you the information. But Candace, Iggy, thank you guys very much. Lots of information there. Hopefully people got a lot of value from that, right? I know they included their contact information. Go ahead and put it in there again. If people want to reach out to them, please do, right? They both are happy to share their knowledge and information. And so do not hesitate to reach out and ask questions. So thank you guys very much. Appreciate you guys taking some time out of your evening to hop on and kind of talk to people.